Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Hellripper, Coronach, out March 27th on Century Media Records. The album has 8 tracks, 44 minutes in length, and this is the band's 4th full-length studio album. They are a Scottish black speed metal band. Now when it comes to the design of this record, I don't love it, but I also don't hate it. I understand that this is a design that it's driven mostly by the sound that the album has. It's impossible to look at this record from a design standpoint and not see the individual impact that the sound on each and every single song has and what the overall experience is all about. Now, the way I look at this record, I look at more as a compilation, or at least it's built like a compilation. Meaning that each and every single song has its own path, its own journey, its own attributes. And when you have songs that almost force the listener down its own individual journey, its own individual path within the song itself, you almost disconnect from the tracks as you move from song to song. There's less of a sense of continuity and more of a sense of individuality. Obviously, this has a negative impact on the overall cohesiveness of the album, but it takes nothing away from the quality of the individual songs. Considering that this is an album that sonically feels very versatile, allows the influences and the uniquenesses that come from those influences to play a big role on defining each and every single song, I don't see any other way for this record overall not to offer the vibe that it offers. It's just one becoming the result of the other. I love the sound on the album. I think this album, from a composition standpoint, is definitely one of the strongest, if not the strongest album that Hellripper has ever released. And releasing an album that has really great song composition and has really great individual songs comes at an overall cost, and this is the overall cost. Now, when it comes to the more the more inner elements, if you will, of the sound on this album, I didn't feel like the band completely broke away with who they are as a band. This is a Hellripper album. Regardless if you're listening to the first song on the record or the last song on the record, I think you're going to find Hellripper DNA throughout the entire record. So this is not one of those albums that breaks with the past and trying to set a new page for what the future could be. I think this is still a very well-grounded, connected album as far as the DNA of the band is concerned. But there are other influences, there are other elements at play that really dictate this album to be a little bit more textured, a little bit more rich, and definitely not one-dimensional. This is not an album that you press play and it's going to be black and speed metal from the first song all the way to the last song. There's going to be elements of that throughout the entire record, some songs having a lot more than others, but it's an album that is not afraid to push the boundaries of where you can go within that genre, even bringing influences from other extreme metal genres, but never completely going outside the box. And I think that was a conscious effort by Hellripper. I think you want to create an album where you exercise a little bit of your creative muscles, but you don't disconnect completely, or you don't go too far off in the beaten path that the album would feel a little bit jolting, considering what the expectations would be coming into the record and considering what the band has done up until this point. So it's to a certain degree an album that takes some chances, but at the same time sonically it feels quite safe because it doesn't go as far as it could possibly have gone as far as taking those liberties and those chances with the sound, with the experience, with the overall vibe. Now you're still going to get a very guitar focused, a very guitar driven album. The guitar sound on this record is outstanding. I love the melodies, I love the leads, the solos on this record, very old school style, very old school approach, but definitely an album that guitar-wise has a lot to offer. It feels very rich, perhaps even richer than I was expecting it to be. It never feels narrow, regardless of how dark the guitar melodies or riffs are. This is not an album that sounds narrow. It's not an album that funnels you in. It's actually an album that has quite a bit of a footprint sound-wise. It feels always very robust. For as dark as it is, for as driven as it becomes, it still sounds very wide. It still sounds very robust. A lot of that comes from obviously the guitar sound, the tonality of the guitars, the production behind the guitars, but also the impact that the drum sound has on this album and the impact that it has on the drums. I felt like the drum sound definitely helped give the experience of this album a much bigger picture. It helps expand the songs a little bit. without allowing them to feel narrow, giving them more substance, adding to that sense of robustness that the record has, and not being afraid of throwing in things like cowbell, for example. I mean, this album from a drums sound perspective is as versatile as the guitars are, and that's why the overall record feels very versatile in the experience that it gives. So I enjoyed tremendously how well paired up the drums and guitars are on this album, working very well in unison with one another to create that more robust nature, to create that bigger sound, but never losing the darkness of the band while doing it. Now, once you get into the vocals are great. Your prototypical Hellripper vocals. I love the layers that they add to the vocals because it also helps with the size. If you're going to have an album that sonically has size, you want to have vocals that also have a very similar size approach, and definitely adding layers will do that. But I also felt like it added even more darkness to the lyrics and to the way the songs are being delivered. So the overall vocal performance is on point throughout the entire record with the DNA of each and every single song. Now, adding some clean vocals, some spoken word, those are all little caveats that I felt that gave the songs more, gave the songs a little bit more richness overall. It made the songs feel more complete, and also allows you to see more than just that one approach, one style, one size fits all. So anytime you can go a little bit outside the box, or you can take some liberties in what the tradition or the traditional sound and execution is, and you add some newer elements to the picture, it allows you creatively to do a lot more with the songs. And I felt like this is an album where Hellripper did a lot more with the individual songs. I'm going to go back at the cost of what the overall collective could have been, more so from a fluidity standpoint, because the overall collective, as far as the album is concerned, is filled with quality. If you have 8 good songs or 8 great songs on a record, you're not going to have a bad record. Just the overall experience suffers because it's a less fluid record, and it's a more song by song, chapter by chapter style album approach. As far as favorite tracks are concerned, I picked 3 songs, 3 very unique songs, just to give you guys an idea of how versatile this album is. Baobhan, Sith. This song has a Victorian feel to it. When you have a Victorian feel in a song like this, and more of an extreme metal song than a Blakk and speed metal song, there's always a band that's going to come to mind. And for me, it's Cradle of Filth. I felt like this song felt very influenced by Cradle of Filth sound, vibe, atmosphere, overall approach. It has the same kind of level of darkness. It has a cinematic undertone to it, specifically once you get into the chorus. The chorus on this song is very cinematic. It has that sort of, like I said, has that Victorian vibe that adds to that cinematic feel, that cinematic approach, which connects me with that mindset that I have when I listen to a Cradle of Filth album. And that chorus really helps set this song apart, and it gives the song a very specific DNA, and it gives the song a very specific fingerprint. Outside of that chorus, it's a more prototypical Hellripper track, fast, speed, dark, ominous, with great harsh vocals, with a lot of layers to it, a great track all around. But that chorus is enough to really set this song apart, add that Victorian feel to the song, and therefore bring that extreme metal Cradle of Filth experience into the forefront. Then you have Blakk, Satanik, Fvkkstorm. This is a Hellripper track. It's a Hellripper track, and it's a track that would resonate with not just the fans of Hellripper, but the fans of bands like Bewitcher or even Midnight. It's a Blakk and speed metal song, start to end. It just goes fast or faster. There's the 2 speeds. It's a great track, sonically, really good song, vocally as well. The vocals matching the speed of the track. The guitar sound is incredible throughout the entire song. The drums help complete that experience, matching really well with the drive and the intent and the intensity that the guitars offer. The vocals add darkness to the song. The song feels a lot more melodic, a lot more driven, so because of that it loses a little bit of its darkness. So the vocals coming in, adding darkness to the overall experience, makes the song feel more robust. The chorus is excellent, both musically and vocally, and the guitars in the chorus are out of this world. I mean, the guitars throughout this entire song are phenomenal, but the guitar melodies, the darkness of those melodies and how they rip through the song in the chorus, just phenomenal. Another element that helps set the track apart, considering that everything else feels very prototypical. As far as the last song is concerned, I picked Sculptor's Cave, and I picked this song because it has elements that I didn't necessarily see in the other ones. I really wanted to pick 3 tracks to exemplify how versatile this album is. I mean, Baobhan, Sith doesn't sound nothing like Blakk Satanik Fvkkstorm, and Blakk Satanik Fvkkstorm sounds nothing like Sculptor's Cave. All of these songs are very unique. Sculptor's Cave has, first of all, great bass sound throughout. One of the songs where you're really going to hear the bass sound is on this song. And I thought that was a nice touch. It changes the mindset of the listener. It gives you something that you hadn't really heard in this kind of approach, with this kind of definition up until this point. It has a great tempo. The tempo very similar to Blakk Satanik Fvkkstorm in terms of the speed and momentum. Then it has a great guitar drum combo, perhaps a better combo on this track than Blakk Satanik Fvkkstorm in terms of how the two really blend with one another to create a more symbiotic experience, if you will. Very robust song musically from that standpoint. Very dark, very driven. The chorus is super hooky, incredibly melodic for a song that has this sort of nature, making the track feel even more dynamic. And the guitar solo absolutely rips. Great guitar solo, old school as well, bringing that old school Hellripper flavor into the forefront. A great guitar sounding track, not depending just on fast riffs to impact the listener. Kind of what you get from Blakk Satanik Fvkkstorm, which is more about the speed and the riffage within that speed. This song still has that, but it's more than that. The guitars are definitely more rich. They offer more. They have more tools in its bag. They definitely add more ebbs and flows to the way the song is delivered, to the way the song is constructed, allowing the track to be very guitar oriented but not one-dimensional in what the guitars are putting together. So it's a great track all around, and having the bass on this song masks some of the similarities that this track could have with other songs on the record, songs that have a similar tempo, a similar energy. So I really like how this track comes together. The bass and the excellent guitar sound on top of the phenomenal vocals really sold me on Sculptor's Cave. This is it. Hellripper with Coronach, once again out March 27th on Century Media Records. Hit me up in the comment section, and I'll see you all at the next one. Take care, guys.